130 million Muslims are fanatics who believe in jihad. They live in the ethers of the internet space, where they talk about taking over the world, introducing the retrograde Sharia law, and killing anybody who doesn't conform to Islam. And we read garbage about one slut with a baby. It makes no sense. They don't know how to make sense out of all of this. So I, for 6 months on my website, michaelsavage.com, have had a question. It's a simple question. It's been up 6 months. It says this. It asks a question. I can't even find it on my own website. Here it is. We passed the 20 million vote mark. Will Giuliani, McKennedy, and Romney agree to meet the Savage Nation? You know the answer to that. The answer is, of course not, because they're frauds. So we go to the Savage web poll, and the web poll is very simple. Should Michael Savage quit radio and run for the presidency? View results. You can't vote more than once. 20,659,000 have voted. 20 million of you have said I should quit radio and run for the presidency. So I did this sort of as a lark originally, but now I'm starting to get agitated, and I'm starting to think, what if, just what if I did this? And I started to say to myself, well, let's run the scenario. So let's start with the comedy running through my head. The comedy is, I'm president of the United States, and my first state dinner, instead of a boring, dumb, poached salmon and Chardonnay from British Columbia, I invite some of my friends from North Beach who own Italian restaurants, and I put on a Sicilian meal for the first state dinner. The second state dinner is a Mandarin Chinese dinner from friends I know in the Chinese restaurant business. And I say I might liven up the presidency if I became president. Just that unto itself would be better than what we have now, or what we'd get under the Clintons again. I mean, if you like Arkansas catfish, that's what you're going to get again. Mentally, physically, and culinary-wise, you're going to get Arkansas catfish of the lowest variety from the bottom of the drained swamp. So here's the question. Let's get serious for a minute. Let's say Michael Savage. I would never campaign, I'm thinking to myself, because I don't like traveling. So how could you even think of being the president if you don't like traveling? Well, I figure if you're the most important man in the world, they'll come to you. What do I have to go to them for? So I wouldn't have to travel to campaign. If I'm not going to travel as the president, why would I want to travel to campaign? And since I'm an outsider with absolutely no relationship at all to the media, they all despise me. They pretend I don't exist, but I know most of them listen to me. And the political structure makes believe I don't exist, but I know they all listen to me. They have to listen to me. How can they not listen to a show that has 20 million people listen to it a week, 10 to 20 million people? Who are they fooling? They may make believe they don't listen, but I know they listen. Because insight is very rare in this world. Intelligence is very rare in this world. And independence is even rarer. So they say, all right, let's listen to what he has to say today about X, Y, and Z. Let's see which way the wind is blowing the Savage Nation. So having said that, here's the first question of the day. And I'm not going to be on the radio anymore. All I'm going to have is a website. And I got to raise $50 million by October to run. Question, how would the media attack me? What would they throw at me when they came to see me? Because I wouldn't go to them. Let's say I have to do the interviews. They're going to come to me. I wouldn't go to them. I'm telling you right now. The mountain is going to come to Muhammad. Muhammad's not going to go to the mountain. The mountain's going to come to Muhammad. If I ever ran, I wouldn't leave my location. They're going to have to come to me. I might make them walk around with me on the waterfront. I might make them go out with me on a boat. I might make them walk up a hill with me if they want to interview me with my dog. I don't know, but I'm not going to do it their way. They're going to do it my way, or they're not going to get to ask me the hard questions. And what do you think they'd ask me? Tell me the worst thing. I want you to take the role of the left-wing media, which is the media, period. And I want you to tell me what you think one of these left-wing psychotic pothead perverts would ask me to try to embarrass me, and I'll answer you. Because I'm not going to ignore 20 million people on my website, and I want to know what you think the vermin in the media would ask me. Let's say Larry King is forced to get off his throne and interview me. First rule would be you can't take garlic for 5 days before interviewing him because he can't stand the stink coming out of your mouth And so if you want to interview him, no garlic for five weeks. If 60 Minutes interviewed me, I guess everyone has to do 60 minutes. So the rule is no clock, no ticking clock. I don't like the sound of a ticking clock. So in other words, I'm going to take all of my quirks and apply it to them. They have to sign a release. But more seriously, what would they ask me? I want to hear how the smartest left-wing vermin, the real smart ones, they're so smart, I want to know what they'd ask me that I couldn't answer. So the number's 20 million, let's say. It's probably 30 million if you don't take the radio audience per se, but what my viewpoints probably represent that of 30 million Americans. I would admit that. 30 million Americans who know what's going on probably would agree with me on everything. 40 million Americans would agree with me on 80% of what I say. 50 million Americans would agree with me on 70% of what I say. So let's take the hardcore 30% of the savage 30 million who represent the savage nation. If the illegal alien population is 20 to 30 million, why are they more important than the citizens who believe in borders, language, and culture, Mr. Media Guy? Next question.
Well, your polls simply don't represent the surveys and polls that we've taken.
Well, yeah, what polls have you taken?
I don't know what polls they'll come up with, but they'll come up with something creative.
Yeah, they'll come up with polls that are invalid and false. Let them show me one other politician in America who has run a poll for 6 months saying, should I run for the presidency, who got 20 million votes the way I did. Let me see if Obama could get 20 million people saying yes. I don't think so. You know, let me say something else to you, Mr. Media. You pay a lot of attention to this group called Daily Kos, and yet, when that idiot wrote a book, he sold 3,000 copies. How do you explain that? It's because there aren't a lot of them. They make a lot of noise, and you make believe their noise is bigger than it is. Okay, next question.
Why are you willing to uproot families, tear them apart, and send people back just simply because they're not documented? They're here to work hard. They're hard workers.
Because 30% of the prison population consists of illegal aliens who came here and murdered, raped, drove drunk, and committed homicide, committed other crimes. 1 out of 3 prisoners is an illegal alien who is a murderer, a pimp, a criminal, a drug dealer. That's the answer. That's why. Savage. So we're playing 20 questions on the Savage Nation. Here's the fantasy. Savage says, on March 31, 2008, I'm leaving radio and I'm going to declare my candidacy for the presidency of the United States. And I'm going to run as an independent. My platform is borders, language, and culture. If I can raise $50 million by October, I will run. If not, I'll return the money. Except that which I spent, which I don't think will be... Well, I'll spend it on advertising. That's how I intend to campaign, to familiarize America with my message. I would hire a superb Hollywood team to produce the Michael Savage commercials on why we need borders secured, why English is the only language that should be spoken in business, in places of business and in government and in forums, and why anyone who cannot speak English cannot vote.